This May 10th meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Any changes on the agenda? Okay. Minutes. Does anybody have any questions, comments on the minutes? Oh, approve the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? See, I miss a month and I'm all scattered.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, and then on to the minutes. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes as stated.
Second? Anybody have a second? All in favor? Okay, excellent. And on to Filbert Farms, item 1.
Good evening. Zoning planner, Marion Ray for York County. Our first of 2 tonight. All right now. If it's not one thing, it's another. Here we go. Filbert Farms. This one is on the corner of, come on. There we go. A corner of Highway 321 and Filbert Highway and Holly Road. That's in the Kings Mountain Township. It's zoned RUD, has about 29.68 acres for a total of 10 lots. This one has a slightly convoluted history. If I can get it to pull through here. There we go. Oh, too far. Can you do it to the first? Okay, so the initial submittal was for the entire acreage to be divided into 4 tracts. And that came in October of 2020 and was approved by staff. The next submittal was for a preliminary plat. They were going to, tract 2 apparently sold, so tract 1, 3, and 4 were going to be subdivided out into a major subdivision. It was turned down. Mostly SCDOT had problems with access from Filbert Highway and Holly Road, both SCDOT roads, for the individual lots. So it was turned down. They recombined. They, I guess, gathered their forces and came back and subdivided tract 4 into 3 lots. So that brings us up to 6 lots total, which that's the end. They can't do any more before doing a preliminary plat, no matter what in our code. So this was approved by staff, and then they came in for tract 3 to subdivide, and that's when preliminary plat was triggered. They had to come in with this plan right here. DOT did approve the access off of Filbert and Holly. This is, ran it by our DOT contacts, and they said yes, this is what they agreed on. It does not require DHEC permits for the individual lots. They are all more than 2 acres. And the it doesn't require open space. They came in before the zoning change, the ordinance change. This came in December. The first preliminary plat came in December, which was before the open space change, February 1st. And then they, so no open space is required. They are not required to have sidewalks for this type of low density. I'm trying to think if there are any other little details on it. So I think that's good. So in this one, what you're looking at, the bold are the new lots. Anything that is, so tracts 1 and 3 are the new lots. 2 and 4 have already been subdivided. So it's a little bit confusing. It's not what you normally see.
What is the difference between what DOT denied and the current plan?
When it first came in December, DOT, I sent a copy over to DOT for their input on it, and he sent it back to me kind of drawn in. He would like to see interior access roads. I assume between the applicant and the DOT later worked out this plan, which I did verify with the DOT to make sure everybody was on the same page, because shared driveways tend to be a little bit tricky. And I wanted to make sure everybody knew what was going on.
So this is different than the original one that DOT said no to?
DOT said no, there were no drives on the original preliminary
Okay.
plat.
Okay. Do we have any other questions of staff? Do we have a motion?
A motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? All right, that takes us to item 2.
All right, our second one tonight is Lexi Farms. This one is a little more typical, what you're used to seeing, a subdivision all at one time. This one is on the corner of, thank you, Diane, Black Highway and Burns Road, also in Kings Mountain Township. It is zoned AGC. The total acreage is 75.738 acres, and they're doing 11 lots. So it's a little bit busy. We have one that's slightly clearer. Burns Road, let's see if my little button here will work for this. No, I think the battery is dead on this one. Burns Road extends south, or roughly south through the land here. I checked with Public Works. They said the right-of-way varies, which I think is engineer for, we're not really sure. Things go back and forth. We don't have clear records. So that's why it shows like the little stub out there at the top coming off of Black Highway as just a little bit of right-of-way. The project itself, it's AGC. The lots are all large enough. They meet standards. They do not need DHEC permits before they come in due to the lot sizes. They don't need open space. This one did come in later, but AGC zoning does not require open space for major subdivisions. One of my conditions for the approval I recommended was that the remainder of Burns Highway there, or Burns Road, the right-of-way gets dedicated to the county. That clears up some issues on down the road, takes care of some historical things that have happened out there. That's really the only condition I have on that one. With this one, Lot 11 would not access Black Highway. Lot 11 would only access Burns Road. They're on the corner. The other roads, lots along Black Highway would access the highway. And they have the proper road frontage to do so.
Any questions of staff? Was the applicant okay with dedicating that to the county, do you know? Yes, okay,
She gets the findings also.
okay, perfect. All right, do we have a motion? I'll make a
A
motion.
motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I motion to accept the findings of fact and approve the preliminary plat as attached here.
With staff's recommendation?
With staff recommendation, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay, just wanted to clarify. Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And then on to the comp plan update.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see if I can make this thing work. Funny that. This is the resilience element. As I've mentioned in previous meetings, the government added an extra element to the comprehensive plan process in September of this year. It's basically due to issues with flooding, hurricanes, sea level rise, a variety of things that they feel that we should better plan for that and be able to prepare for that. A lot of this came down more for the coastal areas. Actually, Charleston County, they added an element similar to this in the past couple of years. They had the foresight to know that there were some issues going on down there. We should go ahead and start planning for that and considering that as we do our building and developments. So basically, as I mentioned, this passed in September 2020. It was added to the comprehensive plan requirements in state law. This element shall consider impacts of flooding, natural hazards on communities, business, and public infrastructure. The element needs to be able to include inventory of existing resiliency conditions, and to promote planning, design, and development, and to coordinate with other jurisdictions that are near to it. It's very broad, and so we'll be developing this as we see that can actually work for York County, because we don't have some of the issues they have in the coastal communities. So we'll discuss within the elements how flooding and hazard events can affect other elements. It's supposed to be kind of woven into each of the other elements here, talking about transportation, how flooding affects roads, if you have economic development, how it closes businesses, so kind of see how we can prepare for those sort of issues because of flooding issues from natural events. We're going to, as we go through this process, sort of review where the critical areas might be to be able to highlight those, map them out, put them in the actual plan itself, and then consider ways to mitigate that. And then figuring out how we're actually going to partner once again, both internally and externally. I mentioned in the memo in the staff report that there's been a couple of documents that have been done so far from APA that we're going to rely upon, and then also looking at what Charleston County did for theirs to get some ideas as to things to look at, things to consider. So I have nothing to show you because we haven't written it yet. This is a brand new element. So I want to get your comments and thoughts about things that we might want to consider as we design this element.
You have flooding and hazardous events. Is it only natural disasters? Would this incorporate the nuclear plant, issues like that?
Probably not so much the nuclear plant. We're looking more towards, we might look at how any kind of flooding might affect the plant, but not any kind of element,
So
any
it's-
kind of hazard from that.
It's just flooding, not
Yeah.
hazardous
And
events.
It'll be more than just flooding, but that's the biggest thing for us. I think in my letter I was writing here, that also can include things like drought, earthquakes, a variety of things beyond just water events. So we'll be looking at a lot of things, but the focus is probably going to be at this level, at this stage, more on flooding and water
Okay.
at this point.
So tell me, how does this vary, or what's the difference like between this and the Office of Emergency like management and things? Like, will you work together? Are they separate?
I should imagine as we write this, they're separate, but I would imagine as we're writing this, we'll kind of refer to them, have them review it, get their ideas. There is more about an operational plan about how to actually have to do when these things happen. We're going to be more in line with what the building environment looks like that can be affected by, or that makes it even worse because of flooding and
So you're
larger
talking
events.
like actually putting into code building requirements to withstand.
Could very well. I don't know that it'll go that
Something.
far as changing of, I think like if you have a hurricane area, you might have straps, that kind of a thing. I don't think we're at that point, but just making sure we're addressing things for floodplain and then climate change and how that's affecting us as well. So I think those are the two things we're going to be focusing on.
Anything further for staff?
Comments or thoughts?
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the tracking sheet? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Awesome. I think that was a record.